This last Friday of June, we're going into the summer, Dr.
Right.
Williams. We know that Project 2025, they had their
Mm-hmm.
180-day playbook. We're
Mm-hmm.
at we're nearing the end of that time frame where a lot of what they envision is going to be solidified. A lot of people struggling right now,
Yeah.
feeling
Yeah.
a sense of wanting to be hopeful, but not necessarily knowing where to look. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
wondering if in your practice of helping people find
Mm-hmm.
and maintain a sense of balance when it comes to their mental health, what insights do you have for us as we go into this very hot summer of a lot of political
Yeah.
organizing and just trying to keep our families and our communities safe?
Gosh, Lurie, that's what's top of mind for so many people right now, for me included. I guess we have to start with the fact that, you know, we may have had the experience of feeling like we were doing well or doing okay, but it was never really okay. And so we're experiencing a sense of loss, I think. Because it was great when we had I was thinking about this, especially as it related to thinking about our young people. They've only known a black man as president. They've only known the possibilities that many of our ancestors had dreamt of that would never be possible. And so, in as much as we're experiencing a loss of, like, oh, there was this hope, our kiddos are also experiencing this retrenchment that looks really different to them, and they're experiencing a big change and a loss that really is undermining their sense of, is the world even right side up? And I think, like,
Right.
that's what we're sitting inside of. And I would say our elders are also going through it too, because they thought
Mhm.
that they had fought for this to be done by now. And what we know through, I think, the cycles of history is that whenever there is as much progress as we have seen, that you are going to see the retrenchment and the rise of fascistic elements. And so I think Black folks are kind of realizing that, oh, Jim Crow was like fascism. Yes,
Yes.
right. We weren't maybe putting those languages to our experience in this country. And now,
Right.
with some distance and seeing a cycle happen, we're able to align there. So big, large political talk. What does that mean for ourselves? It means we saw, what, 106,000 jobs lost by Black women in the last month's jobs numbers.
Yep.
We've seen the unemployment rise. Um, we're seeing the proposed funding cuts and the executive orders, and whether they work at first start or not. What they suggest and what they are signaling are the directions of this government in terms of resources for communities and people. And so, to be under resourced in a capitalist society means that you are
Mm.
stressed and depressed and anxious. And that, I think, is part of what we're grappling with when we think about the mental health of all of us. And heading into the summer is a very scary time to do that, particularly if you're a parent.
That's right.
Particularly if you're a parent.
That's right. Our son is now doing driving lessons, right? Because we tried it. He
Oh,
got his permit. I know, right? Can you imagine? Yo,
oh,
me and
I
Wendy know each
remember when
other from
he
like
was
in real
learning to
life.
walk. Oh
Yes.
my God. Oh,
So he's got his permit, child. He is on the road.
goodness.
And don't tell nobody, but on several occasions of us trying to teach him how to drive,
Y'all
we did
falling.
end up on the sidewalk. No, we didn't fight. We
Uh-uh.
just ended up on the sidewalk. And it was like,
Oh,
okay, we just took out
oh,
half the patch of grass here. Just
oh.
back on out. Let daddy
Yeah,
quickly
I'm gonna
run and
try
put
it
it back
again.
together for the
Try it
neighbors
again.
see
Try
it.
it again.
Some neighbors actually have seen it. It's been bad. But I'm thinking about him
Mm-hmm.
and we're so proud of him. He's finished high school,
Yeah.
he's getting ready to go into college, and we're ecstatic.
Oh,
But I
yeah.
am scared
I
to
know. I
death,
know. I
Dr.
know.
Williams, about the
I know.
idea of him being out on these streets. He
Mm-hmm.
goes back and forth between where we live now and Brooklyn on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
These police are going to be unleashed in some Project 2025 sorts of ways. They
Yeah.
are escalating what we saw happen in Los Angeles. They're spreading it
Yeah.
to Democratic led cities.
Yeah.
I am as optimistic as I am and as engaged as I am, and we're going to be out in them streets organizing as much as we can this summer. Dr. Williams,
Mm.
I'm petrified for him. I'm petrified for my daughter, who
Yes.
is I don't know where she got this big mouth that she got, but child, nope, can't nobody tell her to be quiet, and she got opinions for everything. I don't know where it comes from. I don't know who did
It
this to.
comes from, she gets it
Yeah,
from her mama.
I should get it from a mama. But I'm worried. I'm worried about her. Just
I know.
and I think about my husband. I'm thinking about community members. My block,
Mm-hmm.
the block in the style. Like I'm trying really hard to maintain balance. And every day we do this
Mm-hmm.
moment of gratitude thing. And today I did the
Mm-hmm.
moment of gratitude thing. It's the most important thing we have on the show. But today I did the moment of
Yes,
gratitude
yes.
ritual and immediately started getting news updates from the Supreme Court and felt my own strength waver. Like felt my own spiritual knees buckle. And I'm like, I just led the people through a moment of gratitude. I can't be doing this shit. I can't be scared
Mm.
and freaked out. But at the same time, I'm human and I know
Yes, you are.
history and I know enough of history to know that where we are headed is a place that we fought really hard to get out of.
That's correct.
And are there practical things we can do? Can we be having like family discussion groups? Are there tools that those of us who perhaps may not have a whole family in therapy might be able to incorporate to maintain just some balance emotionally this summer?
Lurie, I'm going to keep it real simple because I knew you were going to ask me something like that. And what I'm going to say is to rest, stay hydrated, calm, and cool, and do something and do both things. We know that
Mm.
there's been this large conversation around where are all the Black people at? They're not at this march and this thing or whatever. And, or, y'all can rest, but Black ladies, 92%, we need you to get back to work because we like when you are working and you make us feel like life is okay when your bodies are tired.
Mm.
Absolutely rest. And I think what we also need to talk through and about within our community is that the truth is that many of us have not been able to rest, and that's all of us because
Yeah.
there has been this rest revolution, Trisha Hersey and the nap ministry, and the really brilliant content and work that's come out of that. And I don't know that we actually know how to rest our bodies and rest our minds. So likely what has happened for many folks is that one, they have to work the ways they're having to work because of what the economy has been doing. And so we say you need to rest, and all we're doing is getting on their nerves because they know that they can't. And it's like, okay, that's a very class based request of someone who actually can't do that. So we might need to watch that, right? But the other piece is that I don't know that we really know how to do that. We come from a people who worked back breaking, bone breaking work, and just that we come from a people who were human trafficked. Maybe God was making space for me to repeat myself so that I could say some other
Mm.
things, right? Okay, we're not
Yes.
going to give anybody anything that they don't deserve. Uh,
Yeah, that's right.
Human trafficked and raped, right? It came and to do back breaking, bone breaking work in this country, built it. And so when we think about rest, we also have our mammification and our John Henryism in us too. And so we think we call being like laid out, exhausted, fatigued, irritable, frustrated, which is a manifestation of depression amongst some of us. Okay. It's a mental health issue in some ways, but deeply, deeply to the bone tired, as some people name it.
Mm.
Being laid out like that is not being restful, resting. That is
That's
being exhausted, and your body is saying stop. And our bodies say stop in a number of ways. And sometimes that's very significant medical health harm to us,
mm.
right? So that's not rest, and that's not what I mean. I mean restorative rest. I mean real deep, quiet the mind rest. I mean real rest where you're not scrolling and looking at stuff on your phone, because even though you think it's relaxing, it's actually upping your cortisol levels, and you're still kind of stressed when you're doing. Yep, I know it, because what are you looking at? You're looking at this device is a dopaminergic slot machine in your hand. And what I mean by that is
Ooh,
it
wait, it's a
activates
what? Say that again. It's a
dopaminergic. So it's basically activating the dopamine centers and acts in your body. The reason why we act the way we do with our cell phones, whether we're getting I don't know, someone, 50 million people like our tweets, we get happy, dopamine. Okay.
Mm.
Somebody likes something we like and they're famous and we think, oh my God, I like something they like. Dopamine. Seeing
Dopamine.
pictures of yourselves, seeing other people like pictures of yourselves. This is why the phone is addictive,
Mm.
because dopamine, the dopaminergic cycle, is the same cycle that is activated in any addiction:
Wow. So
food,
it could
drug,
be crack.
alcohol, sex,
It
gambling.
could be heroin. Right.
The brain doesn't distinguish which one it is. It's
Gotcha.
just a certain neurochemical, swift flipperos. So all to say, like, that's not relaxing. That's not rest. That's not
Mm.
rest. Would if somebody were getting high on crack and they said, "But I feel so relaxed," would you say, "Oh, you resting?" No, you wouldn't. So same. Okay, I know that's probably very visual, but just to put a finer
It,
point
it
on it.
works. It works.
But deep rest where you're not doing anything, where you get a little bored.
Mm.
Where
Yeah.
the thoughts that come
Yeah.
in are the scary ones. Let them come. Because that's what's actually making you tired, is that you're holding that down. And in that space of rest, that's when I want you to start drinking more water, eating even better, do some physical activity, stretch your body,
Mhm.
uh, keep resting, go to bed at a regular time, wake up at a regular time, and engage your spiritual practice, i.e., the moment of gratitude is a beautiful offering. And engaging good time with loved ones. This is rest. And this is rest that you can do even while you're working, because the truth is that some
Right.
of us can't afford not to be working. But you can
Right.
change how you're in the world while you're working. And that can be a restful way of being in your life. That's the offering.
How how do we rest and still do the work? For me, it's a hard thing to do because I once I finally stop resting and I go back into doing the work, I feel unleashed and I end up doing way more work because I done spent so
And
much
that,
time rested. I
right,
feel
right. So you're
refreshed.
doing
And
this, you're doing
right.
this, right? It's like when
Right.
someone's on those roller coaster diets. Oprah was a really good example. So was Luther Vandross. They
Mm,
talked about their diet journey and their body journeys, and that type of dieting actually is what made their bodies unhealthy. For Luther, we know that that's likely what hurt him the most in terms of the internal body systems that broke down when he was
mm,
raising up in weight and lowering in weight because of the demands on the liver, heart, pancreas, in all the other systems of the body. They're responding to that upward, that up and down. So is yours. So you're calling what, and I, years ago as an academic, I would like leave New York, and go visit family and just veg out and watch HGTV with my sisters, my sister and her kids, and my brother-in-law, and just they'd be like, "Are you?" I'm so tired. That's the same up and down treatment of the body. What I am suggesting is sustainable rest. And I know I'm talking different than the ways we've been talking, but the reality is that if, and what I said to myself back then is, if I have to run away from my life in order to get rest, then I'm not living right.
ouch.
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 So vacations are lovely, but live your life like it's a vacation. Treat yourself well. And so,
Mm,
what I will say then too is, if you dial back all the unnecessary clutter and loudness, there's a lot of noise around you. Turn the TV off, turn these things, there's a lot of noise around you. If you turn off the things that are not pouring into you, I'm not saying turn off the Lurie Daniels favorite show, because I know that this one pours into you. Okay. It pours into you.
yo,
I,
do.
I witnessed and watched it. It's a beautiful thing, sis, what you're doing. And
Thank
so, yes, it is. And so, but the things that are not pouring into you, that are just taking the extractive stuff, if you shut that down, you actually have a lot of space.
you. Mm,
You have a lot of space. And if you're operating from a restful space and from a non hurried space, you may be then able to look up and around and with the full cup say, where can I make the most impact in my life and in the life of people who are similarly situated as me? Similarly situated means
I
people
like
who live
that.
next door, people who live in your house, people who you work
Yeah.
alongside at your job, people who you go to church together with, people when you take your walk in the afternoon, as my mom and I do, in this hot Georgia heat, but we still do
Mm,
it, that you see and you wave to. Maybe it's a something as small as, we notice there's a lot of trash over at the intersection right before you come into the subdivision. And so you do that. Maybe you notice that, you know, that light has been blinking a lot. And we notice that whenever there's a storm, it's because that tree keeps falling on the wire. Maybe you guys activate around that so that you don't, you can do things like that. And what I will say is this, because what we know about anxiety and depression and those cycles is that we have a lot of angst. They're the same side of the different side of the same coin. And so you have a lot of anxiety because you're worried about the future and you don't feel like you can get to all the things. There's so many things going on. You overwhelm your system. It can evoke a sense of depressed sense, and because you're so overwhelmed, then you can't get to anything, and then you don't do anything. And so what I would suggest is that, yes, we are in that flipping back and forth, and the purpose of a lot of this flood the zone stuff is to do to you just that, is to keep
right.
you, chasing your tail. So, what I'm arguing is that to pull back out of that and to do one thing that you know is really good, get the block to clean up the block. Get, just do one thing.
I
Do
love
two
that.
things. Do one
Yeah.
thing nice for one other person. If there's an elder in your community, take an extra plate over. Take an
I
extra
like
plate
that.
over. Whatever. It
Yeah.
doing something uplifts you. It activates what? The dopaminergic cycle. Still feel
Mm.
good, but in a good way, and it's not feeding an addiction in somebody's algorithm. That person who does not love you and is actually doing very harmful things to you and our kids too.